Good day. I am Jaco Olivier, Advisor Higher Education at the Commonwealth of Learning. On behalf of the Commonwealth of Learning, I would like to welcome you to this webinar entitled Open, Flexible and Distance Learning and Teacher Education, Prospects and Challenges. Dear attendees, thank you for joining us. Please feel free to pose questions in the chat. The questions will be handled at the end of the session. It's a privilege to introduce the Commonwealth of Learning Chair, Professor Shironica Karunanayaka, who is the Senior Professor in Educational Technology at the Open University of Sri Lanka. Professor Shironica will introduce the rest of the panel and handle the rest of the session. Over to you, Professor.
Thank you very much, Jaco. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on open, flexible, and distance learning and teacher education, prospects and challenges. We thought it's a very important topic in the current education landscape. So today we have 4 eminent panelists joining with us from 4 different countries who have a lot of experience in this areas that is teacher education and open, flexible, and distance learning. So let me briefly introduce each panelist to you. Professor Vasudha Kamat from India. She is a very well-known figure. She has been the former Vice Chancellor of the SNDT Women's University, Mumbai, India during 2011 to 2016, and she has been intensely advocating integrating ICT in higher education and the use of learner-centered pedagogies. Presently, she's the chairperson in the governing board of Consortium for Educational Communication and Inter-University Center of UGC. And she was also a member of the National Education Policy Draft Committee constituted by the Government of India. So I think she has a lot of information, a lot of experience and insights to share with us. Welcome, Professor Vasudha Kamat. And then we have Professor Som Naidu. I think he's a very well-known figure in this area of open, flexible, and distance learning and education technology. He's a former Pro-Vice Chancellor, Flexible Learning, and Director of the Center for Flexible Learning at the University of South Pacific. And currently, he's the Principal Associate of Technology, Education, and Design Associates, a Melbourne-based educational technology consultancy. He's joining us from Melbourne, Australia. Welcome, Som. And then we have Professor Cheryl Brown, who is head of the School of Educational Studies and Leadership and co-director of the Digital Education Futures Lab at the University of Canterbury, New Zealand. And her research is centered around, again, ICTs and how they facilitate inhibiting participation in learning, and she has led multiple research projects on digital education leadership. So welcome, Cheryl, from New Zealand, and she has been earlier having experience in e-learning in Africa. Then we have Professor Hasan, who is an associate professor of distance education at Anadolu University, Turkey. He's also serving as the Vice Dean of the Open Education faculty at this university. He also has a lot of experience in distance education, and his current research agenda is motivational design of instruction in online distance learning environments. So welcome, Hasan, and I think we are going to engage in a very productive panel discussion today with these 4 well-experienced educators in the field. So I think we can start the discussion today. Now, as we all know, preparing teachers for a rapidly changing world poses a lot of challenges. Of course, it offers a lot of opportunities as well. While offering promising opportunities, at the same time, it poses a lot of challenges, especially in this digital age. and in this technology-driven world. So let me commence the discussion by requesting Professor Vasudha Kamat to share your viewpoints. How do you see teacher education, both pre-service and in-service, in this present technology-driven world? Professor Vasudha.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Shironica. Am I audible? Am I audible? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I also welcome all my fellow panelists, and I'm so happy that today we will be discussing about teacher education, both pre-service and in-service, through open and flexible distance education. Let me put forward some of my thoughts with my little experience. I think that Sustainable Development Goals, especially SDG 4 on education by 2030, reminds us all constantly about our responsibility to provide education to all children of school-going age. Every country aims to provide high-quality education to their future generation, and this is possible only through the highly committed and appropriately, adequately trained teachers. I mean, there are different estimates of the teachers in the world, but UNESCO, if I go with UNESCO, it says that there are about 95 million teachers. And we will be needing by 2030 more 69 million more teachers. So just imagine what a gigantic task. But I must also remind you that out of this 95 million, 10%, that is 9.5 million, are in India. So you can imagine the task of Indian government and education institutions to train the teachers, satisfy the needs for teachers, and also do the in-service training. The training teachers before they enter and also when they already entered, and we want to upgrade their skills and competencies. So in service. So both these are important. So pedagogical practices, assessment practices, classroom management, and such other, and use of technology, integrating technology has become very important aspect of such training. We are talking about open and flexible distance education, whether it can be used, how it can be used, how profitably it can be used. So I think these two words are very important, open and flexible. So open and flexible are most important terms here. Open education is a philosophy which must be understood by the organizers of the OFDL. And open education shows the way people should create, co-create, and share their knowledge. Open education is based on the strong belief that every individual should have access to high quality educational resources and learning experience. Please keep that in mind. So flexible learning aims at providing learners with choices, and especially, as Professor Takole had coined the term, that's mass personalization. Personalization, yes, but mass personalization to suit each learner. In particular, flexible learning refers to 6 A's. I think so. Anyone, anytime, anywhere, any pace, any manner, and anything. This means anyone can learn anything at any time and anywhere with any pace and in any manner he or she likes. And we can provide that. So if we are discussing OFDL for teacher education, we need to keep in mind these two terms, open and flexible. Using OFDL in service training has been accepted, fully accepted by the academicians. But what about pre-service? Is there unanimous acceptance that we can do pre-service through OFDL? So we should, today it's a very good opportunity Professor Shironica has created to really discuss it. In India, National Council for Teacher Education is really concerned about opening pre-service through OFDL, and that is because of the concern for quality. So what they do, they only give the opportunity to those who are already working, already trained in the school, so they can be given admission for pre-service. Many countries have experimented many countries have experimented with different models, and I think we all know about those models, 2 semesters or 2 years in school, 1 year in college, something like that. So just to see that we have a balance between these two. But I also, Professor Shironica has also added one more dimension, and that is technology. So there are many technologies available today, and hence it is possible to provide interactive learning experiences using those technologies. Of course, people also only stick to webinars and they tell everyone that you mute your audio, you mute your camera. So this way you can't really. And in the course of the discussion, I will also share with you what India has and how it has used robust technology for interactivity. So it is possible, today's available technology, to provide interactive and learner-centered methodologies and strategies for this. And I will just stop here by saying that India has created a national digital education architecture. In short, it is called NDIA, for school and higher education, which is open, interoperable, evolvable, and public digital infrastructure. So anyone can use it, and it is not a static structure. So what I'm saying, Professor Shironica has really clearly brought in the technology part, and that is why it is possible, if we very openly use technology, both pre-service and in-service are possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Vasudha, for those opening, sharing those valuable ideas at the outset of this panel discussion. I think with your experience in the Indian context, which is our neighboring country as well, you have been doing a lot of good work there, and it's very interesting to hear about this integration of technology, which is, which is a driving force in today's world. So let me move on to Professor Hasan from Turkey. So you have a lot of experience. I think you have your own experience as a teacher educator through open, flexible, and distance learning. How do you think this OFDL provides opportunities for teacher education? Hasan.
Yes,
Yeah.
Shironica, Professor Shironica, thank you very much. Let me introduce myself. I'm from Turkey, and actually, I am one of the graduates of a distance teacher education program from Anadolu University. So as a student, I have experience, and also as a teacher, I have also some experiences. And let me explain how these areas, open, flexible, and distance learning, provide opportunities for teacher education in service and pre-service teachers. Actually, open, flexible, and distance learning, which is essentially open and distance learning, offers lots of opportunities for teacher education, both for pre-service and in-service. Actually, this field, actually revolutionizing the way of the educators are trained and developed. And this area provides many opportunities, and the first one is accessibility. Open and distance learning area breaks down the geographical barriers and enabling many teachers to access quality education irrespective of their education. They can take this education whenever, however they want. And this accessibility actually is crucial for individuals in remote areas and those unable to attend traditional on-campus programs due to the work and family commitments. And this area also provides flexibility. One of the key advantages of this area is, for us, is sure flexibility. Many prospective teachers face challenges while balancing their studies with work, family obligations, and other commitments. traditional and rigid class schedules can be very prohibitive for these teachers, especially for in-service teachers. Open, flexible, and distance learning area provide flexibility in terms of when and where learning takes place. So for in-service and pre-service teachers, they can access the course materials, lectures, and assignments at their own convenience, allowing them to tailor their study schedule to fit their individual needs. And this flexibility actually empowers the teachers to pursue their educational goals without sacrificing their important aspect of their lives. So one teacher from all over the world can take a course from many MOOCs platforms, as you know. And these area, open, flexible, and distance learning area, provide diverse learning resources. Teachers can actually take advantage of wide range of learning resources and technologies to engage themselves and enhance their learning experience. And these resources may include interactive multimedia content, virtual labs, online discussion forums, and real-time communication tools as well. By leveraging these diverse resources, open, flexible, and distance learning ensures that teacher education students have access to rich and varied learning experience that cater to their different learning styles and preferences. Actually, teachers also can have collaborative learning opportunities through the open, flexible, and distance learning opportunities. You know, despite being physically separated through open, flexible, and distance learning, they can create opportunities for collaboration and interaction among teacher education students or pre-service or in-service teachers. Virtual classrooms, discussion forums, group projects, and collaborative assignments enable these teachers to engage with their peers, share their ideas, and learn from each other. This collaborative learning environment fosters critical thinking, communication skills, and teamwork, and all essential qualities for effective teachings as well. Additionally, this collaborative working helps to combat feeling of isolation that teachers may experience when teaching or studying remotely. And personalized support is another opportunity that teachers can take through the open, flexible, and distance learning. Teachers can receive personalized support from instructors, other teachers, mentors, and support staff through various channels such as email, video conferencing, and virtual office hours. Teachers can seek assistance, ask questions, and receive feedback on their progress. This individualized support ensures that teachers can receive guidance and assistance they need to succeed in their studies. Actually, through my study nearly 20 years ago, at that time we were using WebCT program, and we were taking this support through WebCT, through asynchronized support. So it helps us a lot when we were studying. Overall, open, flexible, and distance learning provide a transformative approach to teacher education, offering opportunities for accessibility, flexibility, and collaboration and personalized support that are not always available in traditional face-to-face or on-campus programs. By leveraging technology and innovative pedagogical approaches, open, flexible, and distance learning equips aspiring teachers with the knowledge, skills, and support they need in their career as well. For now, I think it's
Yeah, okay. Thanks,
Oh.
Hasan. Thanks for sharing based on your own real life experiences in distance education. As a teacher, incidentally, I too have the same experience. As a teacher, I also got my training in the distance mode. But those days, the technology was not available as we have now. So now all these opportunities, the flexibility, the opportunities are a lot more now. So I think there are a lot of opportunities for teachers for their professional development. So thank you for sharing those thoughts. Okay, we'll move on to Professor Cheryl. So can I ask you about your thoughts about continuing professional development, CPD, which is another important aspect, to continue in your updating your competencies, the knowledge. So Cheryl, what are your thoughts on CPD of teachers in relation to open, flexible and distance learning?
Kia ora, tēnā koutou katoa, and thank you, Professor Shironica. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the how of CPLD rather than the what. And I'm going to use CPLD as continuing professional learning and development, because we all know that as educators, we're lifelong learners ourselves. Colleagues Forbes and Walker have recently published a CPLD ecological support model for online learning, and I found it really useful as a framework and a reminder that CPLD can occur at many different levels, from the individual and personal right through to the global, to programs that places like Commonwealth of Learning can offer for people across the world. And so I thought I might just use that as a way to think through CPLD for OFDL. So at a personal level, I think one of the things that we really need to think about is that teachers, we know, are under huge pressure. They don't have limitless time, and we need to be very careful and quite purposeful in the sort of tasks we ask them to engage with and what sort of value they can get out of any CPLD they might engage in. And I think one really critical way to ensure that that the value is sort of multifaceted for them is to make that learning authentic. And I heard Professor Shironica mention that yesterday in the big research project that she had unveiled and launched, that just how authentic learning is really important, because what it does is it connects the knowledge that we have perhaps as different experts in different contexts with the real practice and the needs that teachers might have in the classroom. So I think that's a really important part of CPLD. I think when we're thinking about the role of technology in that, it's just quite exciting about how technology opens up opportunities that we haven't had before. I mean, the classroom used to be quite a private space between teacher and student. And now that we're engaging in online teaching and learning, the opportunity for things like observation of other people's sort of online classes and peer sort of input and feedback on your teaching is there. And I think something that we could really draw on at the personal level as teachers reflect on their practice. And then as we're going out and thinking about, how groups of teachers and programs or different particular subject areas or communities of practice engage, we could think about I suppose, the role of collaboration in that. If I think of one example, when we were faced with some of the stresses and imperatives during the pandemic, groups of us got together and just offered very quick videos of short tips and tricks for teaching in online spaces and ways that we were adapting. And as people shared these as communities and they built on what each other had said, and the learning became not an expert talking to a group of people, but it became a community sharing their knowledge. And I think that picks up on what Professor Hasan was saying about communities of practice and collaborative learning and the importance of collaborative space. And then I think the other aspect that we really mustn't forget is the power of mentoring and mentoring each other. In the Aotearoa New Zealand context, Te Ao Māori have a concept called ARCO, which is reciprocal learning and teaching, and reminds us that teachers can learn from students as much as students can learn from teachers, and how we as groups of experts can learn from each other. And I think that's something that we often forget, that there isn't one context and one expert, but different ways of doing OFDL in different contexts. And that is all, that learning from each other is something that's really valuable. So I think those processes could really help us as we think of CPLD in OFDL. Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl. Yeah, it's interesting to hear about CPLD because usually we use the term CPD. Yeah, and also, yes, of course, this integration of authentic learning. We have done a lot of that. I think Professor Som has been working with us in a lot of projects where we engaged teachers in authentic teaching learning processes and assessments as well. We've done a lot of research as well. And yes, communities of practice, that's a very important aspect where everybody working together as co-learners, not this teacher-student relationship is now, it's becoming a change in this contemporary world. Okay, so let me move on to Professor Som, who is a great figure in the arena of distance education, if I may say so. He has a lot of experience in various, I think I don't need to introduce a lot, but I think we all know. So, and also he has been emphasizing a lot on design, the concept of design, the importance of design of teacher education, right? So, let me ask, can I ask you mainly to focus on the role of design in the development of teacher education programs via OFDL? Now, the previous three panelists talked about the importance, the significance. So, in order to make that happen, what's the role of design in this? So, over to you.
Thank you, Shironica. You're Cheryl and Bula from this part of the world. Many of you might know that I'm from the Pacific, not really from Australia, but I'll give you both perspective. And welcome to my brother from Turkey, Brother Hasan, and Vasudha, of course, to the team. All of you have given me quite a bit to pick up on, and I think Shironica has done a wonderful job in trying to orchestrate this conversation so far. The things that I picked up from all three of you sound a bit like this to me. I mean, Vasudha has obviously, apart from other things, highlighted the importance of the scale of the operation that we need to engage in, the numbers that we need to get up, and so that is a very complex task. And Brother Hasan has, of course, highlighted a whole bunch of things, including accessibility, flexibility, diversity, collaboration, and personalization. All of these things can happen in the campus-based environment, of course, but they are different in the OFDL environment. That's where the complexity comes in, Hasan. And of course, Cheryl talks about authentic learning and the importance of it, and technology. And so the question then arises is, well, how do you pull all of this together? And I think Shironica has highlighted the importance of design here. I mean, and I wanted to sort of dwell on that a little bit, though that's a very big topic. And first up, I think it's important to realize that everyone designs, and every educator, every teacher engages in some level of design or some kind of design. No one walks into a classroom or no one enters into an online learning environment without thinking about design. So design is not new. Everybody designs. So I want to see design, I would like to see design on a continuum. So if you're a classroom teacher, traditionally, you walk into a classroom, you have your content, but you've given some thought to how you're going to go about doing it. But when you were engaging in OFDL, it just, expands that concept of design so much more in so many different ways that it becomes a very complex operation. But I think that's the first point that I wanted to make. So design is essential, and more so in OFDL environments than in sort of confines of the classroom. But the other thing about design that I wanted to talk about is what kind of design are we talking about? And I've given this a bit of thought in the past few hours, in the past few days. If you think about, all of us are familiar with learning design. We're familiar with instructional design. We've seen books and we have taken courses on learning instructional design. But if you think about those, the literature around learning and instructional design, the problem that I have with that literature is that it's so much outcome oriented, isn't it? We talk about learning outcomes in learning design and instructional design. We talk about tasks and we talk about if students did X, Y, and Z, what would happen? I mean, you go back to behaviorism 50, 60 years ago, operant conditioning. Think about, Thorndike's and B.F. Skinner's ideas about how you can, control behavior by reinforcement and punishment. Pavlov's classical conditioning in the same way, you do something and you control behavior or control actions, and good old friend, Benjamin Bloom, talked about how, in 50, 60 years ago, how you can achieve certain outcomes by how you design learning activities. I mean, his whole theory of the 2 sigma effect, which was the benchmark for learning outcomes, he was suggesting can be achieved by how you put together learning strategies to achieve the 2 standard deviations above the mean that one-to-one instruction can achieve. So that is the way we have seen design, by stacking up strategies in order to achieve outcomes. And I have had a problem with this, and this is what I wanted to throw out to the panelists, that when we think about design that way, we are reducing teaching to a set of actions, and I think that is a dangerous thing to do, because you are kind of suggesting that if I did this, that would happen. Sure, most of the time, we might expect that to happen, but every situation is different, every context is different, and therefore, seeing learning design or instructional design in that reductionist approach is problematic. In an article that I was reading recently by Eamon Costello from Ireland and his team, they're talking about, in fact, they're suggesting, this is not my words, quote, that it's almost arrogant to say that we can design learning or predict outcomes. And I thought, oh, interesting, isn't it? It's almost arrogant. How can you be so sure that if you did certain number of things, something would happen? And I thought, well, this is interesting. This is something that I've thought about as well. And I have said elsewhere that actually one cannot design learning. You cannot design learning. Learning is something that happens as a result of what we do as teachers, what we do as institutions. All we can do, and my friend Eamon would probably agree with me, given what he just said in that article, is that all we can do is design learning experiences. So given the complexity of the situation that has been mapped out by Vasudha, Hasan, and Cheryl, I would like to suggest the design of learning experience in that context is so much more important, and that I think we should pay attention to the design of learning experiences to achieve those sorts of outcomes that we are talking about, which would then solve the problem that I think Vasudha was talking about, is the idea of quality. Why do people question the quality of learning and teaching in OFDL situations and not in face-to-face situations? Because you think that OFDL is more open and therefore flexible, therefore you cannot control quality, and therefore it is not as good as what is a controlled situation in a classroom. And I think this is my suggestion to the problem that people are pointing to when they're talking about the quality of learning and teaching in OFDL. So I think in OFDL, we have to pay greater attention to the design of those learning experiences, so we can then say, hey, this is, if not as good as what you can offer in a classroom, but in fact, it's better. It's better and more powerful than what you can do within the classroom. Anyways, I'm going to leave that there and see if you can come back to it. Thanks, Shironica.
Thanks, Som. I think you raised a lot of interesting points there for us to critically think about, not just using the words of design, but the real meaning of what are we really designing, that we are designing the learning experiences for our students. So now when our students are teachers, that becomes even more challenging, because we have to design the experiences in such a way so that their competencies as practitioners, how they are going to be developed. So I think we will discuss later more about this, how this designing will support the teacher competency development. I think we have done a lot of work in that area as well. And this link between the balance between the subject matter content, pedagogy and technology, having a balance between all these together and focusing on the context. I think you raised a very important point there. The importance of context, which we tend to forget sometimes, but just focusing on the content. Okay, thanks, Som. I think now we, from the 4 panelists, we have a good start now. And I would like to request the participants, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A so that the panelists can address them at the end of our discussion. So let me move back to Professor Vasudha. Okay, so now we talked a lot about this OFDL and the opportunities it provides teacher education, especially with the online, blended and interactive learning possibilities. So can you further elaborate on this multidimensional nature of teacher education? I think based on the thoughts that have been shared now, we can see it's multidimensional. So what are your thoughts about that aspect, Professor Vasudha?
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm really being enlightened with the experiences shared so far with panelists. Thank you so much. Yes, it is a multidimensional process, teacher education. Many dimensions are there. First dimension, if you see it touches all 3 domains. It's not only creating knowledge base or transmitting information, no. So it is creating pedagogical knowledge bases. It also touches affective part. This is outside our discussion today, but in 2010, UNESCO invited me as a representative of India for celebrating Teachers' Day. And I spoke about every child needs a caring and loving teacher. And many of them, they liked it and they told me that yes, the teacher can be brilliant, academically sound, but if he or she doesn't have that affection, love, and really commitment to the child, he or she cannot be a good teacher. So that is another domain. And the third domain is that of skills. So a lot of different skills like teaching skills, mentoring skills, counseling skills, and skills for integrating technology or professional skills, because teacher is a teacher, but he or she is also a professional. So I think that domains of knowledge, touching all 3 domains, is one dimension. The second dimension is that of trainees' prior learning experience. I mean, some of them are experienced teachers, some of them are not. They are fresh graduates and they enter. Or now we are starting integrated programs. So after 12th standard also they enter for pre-service teacher training. The third dimension in the various areas in which the trainee wants to enter, like sports and physical education, or education of special child, or pre-primary or early childhood education, or children with special needs, or bright children. So many areas are there of mastery, and that is another dimension where teacher education touches these areas. The fourth dimension could be the various modes which we plan. I mean, design. Now, Professor Som has used that word designing. I fully agree that it has to be a design both because we are talking about open and flexible also. So the trainees also can participate in design. So if we are talking about technology, integrate technology, that is the fourth dimension. So as you have asked me, Professor Shironica, technology can be used in the classroom only face-to-face mode, digital education. It also can be blended, combining both approaches, and it also can be totally online. The MOOCs are there, learning portals are there, and there are many YouTube channels, there are MOOC platforms, educational television channels, as in India, hundreds of them for every language, for every class. Third standard, fourth standard, we have specialized television channel. You can have radio, community radio. So many technologies are available to us. But again, coming back to Professor Som's idea of designing, what is good, what is appropriate, what is adequate, what the learner intends to do. And accordingly, the technology is also flexible. It's not structured. It is up to us to use that appropriate technology. Because there is a paucity of time, I'll share only two examples. One example is a very small scale use of technology. That is one of my friends, Mr. Nilesh Nimkar. He works in the tribal area of many states in India. They train Anganwadi, that means pre-primary teachers, early childhood teachers, going there personally. They have tutors. They teach, and the teacher is expected to use those techniques like cooperative learning or whatever strategies they teach. He or she has to use it. But they have to record it, audio recording on mobile. Their friends record it, and that audio file is sent to the tutor because he has many tutors spread across the country. They see that and they give feedback, personalized feedback on that audio file, which goes back to the teacher. It's a sweet gesture because in any training, I think personalized feedback is very important, and technology can do that because everyone has tried his or her best and would certainly like to know how to go ahead and improve it further. And that is why I really give a lot of importance to this kind of a technology. It's very small little technology on your mobile and with only audio file. And it works. It works because the teacher is really impressed and inspired to go ahead and try. This is in service. And of course, we don't have now the National Education Policy has suggested specialized training for early childhood care education. But till now, it was informal, non-formal kind of a thing. The other example which I want to give you of use of robust technology, that was training of CPD, continuous professional development of teachers, which was undertaken by the NCERT, National Council of Educational Research and Training. They were talking about 4.2 million teachers. Yes, I said it right, 4.2 million. I always feel that on the international platform, many people talk in hundreds, some people talk in thousands, some people talk in 10,000s, and Indians always talk in millions. Because that scale we really have to think and plan and design. So the NCERT was planning to reach 4.2 million teachers and also heads, principals of the schools. They call this program as National Initiative for School Heads and Teachers Holistic Advancement. You see, the acronym becomes NIShtha, N-I-S-H-T-H-A. Nishtha is a Sanskrit word which means devotion, faith, firmness. Very appropriate, acronym given to this project. Now, what they did, they trained 33,000 tutors. Key resource persons, they call it. And in turn, they reach fully online, and another group was also taking training through face-to-face. Both modes were used. Online, if you see Nishtha website, you will see a lot of learning resources, digital courses, interactive learning material is developed. QR codes are created for many learning resources, and they are made available. And with that, they also had 2 hours daily interaction with the participants. You can imagine that personal touch is also very important. You just can't tell them that you see the video and learn. No, again, I'm repeating because I strongly believe, and I had a discussion with Dr. Kasturi Rangan sir about digital university. He also said, yes, you may talk, Vasudha, about digital university, but keep in mind that personal touch of the teacher is very important. That may not be in face-to-face always, but OFDL, Professor Som, I'm also with you. I'm not talking about degrading inequality. It is possible to give personal touch, personal attention, personal appreciation, and inspiration by the teacher through technology, because lots of different platforms are available, lots of strategies and tools and techniques for technology are available, which the teachers should learn and use. So this Nishtha program, they train first 1.8 million teachers, and within 1.5 months. So technology for when using OFDL is possible to reach large number and with good quality learning and teaching processes. They were told that when you go back, you develop your own learning resources and upload on Nishtha websites. So you will see that thousands of such, not thousands, I should not be using millions, but it is always in millions. All these teachers develop their learning, a story, a painting, interaction, children's interaction in the class. They recorded that and uploaded and gave their description. See what kind of resources are generated. I'm not saying all are very high quality, but creating such resources never occurred to our teachers. And now through this OFDL way of reaching teachers was, though it was challenging, it was very fulfilling. It was inspiring. So I'm really congratulating Commonwealth of Learning and especially Commonwealth of Learning Chair, Professor Shironica, for taking up this very idea of using OFDL, open and flexible distance learning. Now we can go fully online, and someone has written cooperative learning strategies. I always wonder, and really I must share with you, Professor Shironika, that I have stopped going for any webinar because this is only talking. I strongly believe in conducting workshops, conducting interactions of the participants, because this technology is giving you. You can have their groups, small groups of 3 and 4. Why not? Cooperative learning strategies can very profitably be used on technology. So I request you and all my colleagues here that we should start showing up, giving examples how this can be done. And we can, Nishtha has also shown that. They did lectures, they did a lot of activities online and share those online. I'm saying that such examples reaching a large number of teachers, because we are talking about 95 million teachers in the world. It's not a small number. And if we, I'm not really taking pre-service because we can come, it's a very huge area, but in service, CPD, it is definitely possible if we plan and design properly. Outcomes, I think we have to go with outcome, because unless we have what the teachers would like to do, you ask them, of course, you ask them, what would you like to do? And then plan accordingly. That freedom can be certainly given. So coming back, that again and again, I'm saying it is possible to use robust technology, appropriate technology, interoperable technology, and evolving technology. Don't have a strict structure and this has to be used. No, it's not needed. We have to change our mindset because the new technology is developing. Everybody learners developed resources. I also want to talk about OER, Open Education Resources. All these resources developed by NCERT are OER. So why can't we? There is a movement, I know, and I'm participating in that too, internationally. And I really want to bring it on this platform that if you really want to go ahead with OFDL and teacher education, please base your training on OERs. Develop OERs, reuse OER, modify them with permission, and reuse. So many options are there, and I'm going to continue my thoughts on this, Professor Shironica, even after this seminar. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Vasudha. I mean, those are very insightful ideas that you've been sharing. I know you have been doing a lot of work, especially integrating technology into teacher education throughout the years. It's very interesting to hear about those experiences, how you are managing these millions of teachers using the technology. So open, flexible, and distance learning has supported you to cater to the needs of these millions of teachers who need their professional development using multimodal approaches and integrating new technology, as well as maintaining the quality. That I think that's very important. Quality versus quantity is always a question. So it's really important to see how we can cater to the needs of large numbers while maintaining the quality as well. Thank you very much for those ideas. Okay, so we heard a lot of opportunities all this time. We have been, listening to a lot of opportunities, but we all know that at the same time we face, the teachers, the people who are getting trained, we also face challenges. The teachers face challenges as well. So Hasan, can I ask you from your point of view, or what do you think the main challenges teachers face in their professional development processes through OFDL?
Sure, thank you, Shironica. Actually, while OFDL offers numerous opportunities, benefits for teacher professional development, it also presents several challenges that educators may encounter in this process. I want to start with the point that Som stated, that with the design. Thank you, Som, for the insightful ideas. Actually, the design issue can be a challenge for the teacher education. The quality of OFDL courses can vary widely depending on the factors such as instructional design, course materials, and teaching methods. Teachers may encounter courses that lack clear learning objectives, engaging content, and effective assessment, which can actually stop or hinder their learning experiences and professional development. Actually, ensuring the quality of OFDL programs requires careful course design, ongoing evaluation, and feedback mechanisms that address any deficiencies or continuously improve the learning experience for teachers. I can say that the design issue can be a challenge for the educational programs. The other challenge actually can be on the teacher side. The teachers' technological efficacy or their technological proficiency can be a challenge as well. OFDL programs or OFDL often requires the teachers or students to adapt to new technologies and digital tools for teaching or learning. Some educators or some people may lack the necessary technical skills or confidence to navigate through the online platforms, create multimedia content, or other technical issues. Overcoming these challenges require actually comprehensive training and support to help teachers develop their digital literacy skills to engage with the OFDL way. And the other challenge actually can be the isolation and lack of community. Actually, OFDL for some actually who are used to face-to-face education can be isolating, as teachers may lack face-to-face interaction with colleagues, peers, and teachers, or from the institution, this can be a negative issue. The sense of isolation can hinder the collaboration, networking, and the exchange of ideas that are essential for the professional growth. Actually, of course, there is ways to overcoming this issue. We should actually build a sense of community or community of inquiry and foster the opportunities for virtual collaboration and the peer support in this way, because these issues, the collaboration, peer support, and the sense of community are crucial for addressing the challenge and promoting the supportive learning environment. The other issue or the challenge can also be the self-discipline of the learners or teachers, and also the time management issue. You know, flexible learning schedules in open and distance learning require teachers to manage their time effectively and stay disciplined in their studies or issues. Without the structure, the traditional classroom-based courses, educators may struggle to stay organized, actually prioritize the tasks, and maintain the motivation as well. Providing guidance on time management strategies and offering regular check-ins and accountability mechanism can also help the teachers to overcome this challenge. And by doing so, the teachers can stay on track with their professional development goals as well. Also, actually accessing to resources and taking supports can be a challenge as well for teachers, because accessing to resources and taking support sometimes can be limited in some designs or in some open and distance learning environments, particularly for teachers in remote or underserved areas. Limited access to reliable internet connectivity and academic libraries, professional development opportunities, and mentorship can actually can be a challenge for teachers' ability to fully engage in OFDL programs and advance their professional development. Actually providing equitable access to resources and support services is also essential for ensuring that all teachers have the opportunity to benefit from these ODL programs. And also adapting pedagogy to online environment is also a critical issue, because, you know, transitioning from traditional face-to-face instruction to online teaching requires teachers to adapt their pedagogical approach and institutional strategies to suit to online environment. This issue may involve learning new learning techniques, leveraging digital tools effectively, and designing engaging and interactive online learning experiences. Professional development programs in this way that focus on online pedagogy and instructional design can help teachers to develop skills and confidence that needed in these settings. Actually, addressing these challenges requires a comprehensive approach that includes targeted training, ongoing support, and collaboration among the stakeholders that ensure that teachers can fully leverage the opportunities presented by the OFDL for the professional development of teachers. But all in all, actually, I believe that the benefits of OFDL programs are much greater than the costs. Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you, Hasan. Yes, there are a lot of challenges that you mentioned, which similar. I mean, when you say all those things are similar in our context, I'm sure those are common challenges in any context, especially in relation to the integration of technology. So we have to support the teachers in developing their confidence as well, because sometimes there's this resistance to use technology. And also Professor Vasudha mentioned about getting them involved in the creation of technology, digital tools, the availability of open educational resources. Sometimes they're not aware of these things, and they're not like, they're reluctant to use them. That sort of mentality is also there. So Cheryl, can I ask you now, I know you have a lot of experience in this digital education as well. So how can we support teachers to develop confidence in using technology in the OFDL space?
Yeah, thank you for that, Shironica. And thank you for touching on the need for digital skills, and Professor Hasan, because that's really, I think that's what we're looking at. So I think one of the things for me is just how we help us as adults learn to have confidence in our digital practices, because we know there are differences in how we all use technology. It's just, technology is not something any of us are ever going to be 100% competent using, because it changes so rapidly. And so for me, it's about starting with where you're at. And so the way that teachers participate and giving them confidence that the stuff they know is good enough, that it doesn't have to be high tech and whiz bang for them to feel confident doing. I mean, even something like the very basic instant messaging applications that we all use to chat to our families with, you know, WhatsApp and Telegram and WeChat if you're in Asia, and whatever those are, those very fundamental tools are forms of digital technology that we can use to create learning communities. So I think part of it is to help people see that what they have is valuable, teachers. The other part is to help teachers realize that they don't have to be the experts. Sometimes our young people are indeed the experts with digital technology. And by bringing them into the learning process, we are both engaging them and validating what they bring, and learning and building on that. So I think those are two sort of approaches that we often forget about. But I do want to urge everybody who's listening to think about some aspect of what they do in their teaching practice that they feel comfortable with, that they can actually move to share and create and disseminate, because we know that the inequalities of information in the online space are just huge, that some countries, those that are very proficient in English, are very dominant in putting forward lots of material and ideas and suggestions, and that the developing resource-constrained countries are often very, not invisible, but less visible in the digital spaces. And so if we want our teachers to find things that are relevant to them and that they can feel confident in building on open education resources, anything, we need to all take that step towards creating and sharing some of what we're doing and feeling confident about that, because it's only when our voice gets out there that our young people will see themselves in the sort of practices. So I think every little bit counts when it comes to using technology for OFDL. And we ought not to look at the fancy person on the right who does it all so well and judge ourselves by that. We should know that our contribution is valuable no matter what.
Okay, yes, thanks, Cheryl. Yes, I think you raised a very important point that whatever you don't have to always think about very highly sophisticated technology. Even the simple technology you are using, whether we are supporting them to be confident in using it and integrating it into their teaching practice, yes, and promoting, inspiring them to become not only users but creators as well. Thanks for that. Okay, so all this again brings us back to this idea of design. So how do we get this mixture right between the subject matter knowledge, pedagogy, and technology when in designing teacher education programs via OFDL?
Cheryl, I'm just concerned about the time. Do you have more time?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
We can. Yeah.
So
We can take like a few minutes more, and there are a few questions as well that we have to answer. So some of the things you may elaborate while answering the questions. Yeah.
there's so much being said that, you know, it's so insightful. So many interesting comments have been posted by everyone, and that it gives us so much hope, you know, and so much to look forward to. So the question then I would like to throw back at ourselves and people is, then what kind of a training should we take teachers through? What kind of a curriculum should teachers then have in order to achieve everything that everyone has said? And, you know, this is the problem that I have. You know, all of us, I think all of us have been through teacher education programs. You know, I'm one of you guys as well, you know, a long time ago. Surely teacher education programs have changed, but I don't think they've changed all that much. And this is my problem, that I think, you know, we pay a lot of attention to subject matter knowledge. So we should. I mean, you consider, for example, the training of engineers or medical practitioners or nurses. You want them to know their subject matter, right? So I have no problems with that. We need to know about the content of what we're trying to teach, okay? And we all have done courses on learning theories and things like that. You know, I've done several over the time of my life, but obviously during my training as a teacher, you know, there were a few courses on learning theories that we did. But apart from that, there was nothing else. There was no course or no requirement for us to be skilled in technology. There might have been. We tried to dabble with audio video tools, you know, in those days. So if you look back, I mean, all of us are now in the context where we're looking at teacher education programs. Where is the balance? How much subject matter knowledge are we pumping into teachers or asking teachers to be competent in? How much pedagogical knowledge are we requiring them to possess? How much technological knowledge we're requiring them to project? I think there's a weakness there. So if everything that we have said needs to be done, you know, we need to train teachers to be able to do that. You can't leave these by chance. So we need to have a look at the curriculum of teacher educators. I've been watching a few comments, you know, on chat where people are saying, humanism, those kinds of things, emotional intelligence. Yeah, all of those things. So how do you package all those things into a teacher education curriculum? And the last remaining thing, if all of us are convinced that design is integral to that, how do we factor that in? Is a course on learning theories enough, or should we be thinking of design as a science of its own? And that's not a wild thought, because design is a science of its own. Engineers get taught design, architects get taught design, you know. Textile engineers get taught design, but teachers don't get taught design unless you can prove me wrong. So I think we need to provide this kind of training in the curriculum of teacher education. Otherwise, we are going to go around the circle and we're going to keep complaining about why we are not able to do it because of our own limitations. So the answer to your question, Shironica, is that I think we've got to revise the curriculum. If you look at teacher education curriculum, oftentimes it's organized along the lines of science education, math education, or secondary education or primary education. I mean, that's an archaic model. That's not relevant in the current climate, and especially in the OFDL environment. So I think we need to rethink that. And I'm looking for that dean of education or that head of school of education who will take the step. And I commend the Open University of Sri Lanka for making some inroads in that, for designing programs that did not require people to take exams, that incorporated authentic learning experiences, and I would like to see more of that. And unless we do this, then we are not going to shift the frameworks, to shift the ground. I mean, that's my frustration. You can see the frustration in my voice, but I'll let others have a go.
Yeah, thanks, Som. Yes, I think I think those points are very valid. We are always, even though we talk a lot about this design, the word design is used, but are we really designing, I mean, in different ways, or are we designing it in the same traditional way? I think you answered, no, there are many questions in the Q&A and in the chat box as well. I think several questions were there about designing, but I think you addressed those questions, how to design meaningful learning experiences. And design thinking process for curriculum development. I think you already addressed those things. Maybe the others can address some of the questions like, okay, for example, how can OFDL be leveraged to address the unique geographical challenges faced by students in small island states, and what strategies could be effective in ensuring equitable access to quality education through FDL, especially in remote and underserved communities? What policy initiatives, funding mechanisms are needed to sustain and scale up? I think Professor Vasudha is the most suitable person to respond to that with your experience. Would you like to, or any others?
I only don't talk about numbers. I also am concerned about quality. As I said earlier, it has to be hands-on. If we are training teachers, see, technology is possible. I'm saying it again and again. It is possible. It reaches any nook and corner, but it requires funding because, I said, as India is very robust technology developed, every school will have access to internet. And see, thinking about this, designing this kind of, providing this kind of technology is one thing. These decisions are taken at higher level because government level or state level with the education level. But once you have a technology, what to do with it? That should be included in our teacher education program as well. How to use technology profitably and effectively. Otherwise, as I said earlier, we can lecture. Who wants lectures? That information is already there. And we also should think learning styles. People, for example, I don't like to see videos and learn. I like to read. I like to talk to people. See, I'm telling you about my own learning style. But if you go to any MOOC, there are videos. And they tell you, you see this video and learn. Why should I learn through videos? Why can't different learning experience be planned and designed for me? It is possible. It may be a small island or it may be the whole country like India, big country. It is possible to reach everybody with the kind of technology today we have. Many countries have this technology and many countries are ready to provide this technology. So for me, technology is not a question. OFDL, it is openness. That everybody should have that access to education and should have the capabilities to develop own knowledge and share it. Co-create the knowledge. I always use this word co-create because if you see, I don't create all knowledge by myself. I do it with the whole team. And you see all the papers published, you have 8, 9, 10 names on it because it is co-creation. And it is possible through openness. Yeah. Basically, some of these ideas should be tried out. Technology is not a problem at all. It's our mindset to reach, to help them, and to help them to do what they want. What each child wants, it is also possible. But we teach 40 children in a class and we think that there is an average child. It is not there. The same thing applies to higher education. We didn't touch higher education today. And because higher education in India, especially, we don't have any pre-service training. So they just have their degrees, master's degree, PhD, and then they go to class and start teaching, transmitting information. Who wants that transmission of information? We want to create something new, challenging things. Innovation is the keyword today. It starts with the 5-year-old child also, which is possible. So I think like-minded people should come together and really have this big movement.
I think a lot of like-minded people are here in the audience as well. So I think each individual can take initiatives, together and even individually, collectively, a lot of things can be done. And Cheryl, there's a question for you as well, specifically focused on you, but you have already answered. Would you like to add on to that? That's about what could be the determinants to assess teachers working in colleges and school level after getting the CPD training to measure the effectiveness, and how research can be integrated there as well. You have already answered, but
I was trying. It was a bit vague, the answer, but I guess it's, I think what I really wanted to say was it really depends on the type of CPD and trying to measure the effectiveness for the thing that we're actually providing the sort of, not training, but the development on. I'm very conscious that often we try and measure people in terms of their student success when they have very little control over that. I mean, it reminds me a bit of what Som was saying around design. You know, what can we do? We can't design learning. We can only design experiences that students then engage with. So I think we have to try and make sure that we're not trying to do this sort of, the English expression is the apples and oranges. We're not trying to offer one thing and then measure something else, and that we don't put too, you know, overly too much pressure on the teachers, that we look at the whole program and the whole context when we're looking at success. And that success can, we always think of success as the end product, but success can just be a happy, motivated learner. And for my mind, that is success, a learner staying in school for longer, you know. So I feel like we need to get away from that. It has to, and that's perhaps why people think, you know, they try and assess open and distance learning around, you know, is it going to be, you know, better marks? Well, nobody does that with face-to-face learning either. There are whole different measures of success that we need to remind ourselves on when it comes to quality.
Right. Thanks. Hasan, would you like to answer any of the questions or add any thoughts on any of the ideas already mentioned? Maybe about design thinking. And there's one question about now the like the buzzword is about artificial intelligence integrating. So, okay, any ideas on that? Or maybe so?
Well, I'll make a quick one. I thought you were trying to get Hasan to, Brother Hasan, to make a comment on that. But listen, well, quick one before he gets on. I mean, I think AI is another technology, right? So let's not be so hung up about AI, and let's deal with AI as another technology. And we've seen so many other technologies come and go and still yet to come. So I would consider artificial or generative AI as a sort of a basket of technologies in the same way, and use it for what it's worth. And everything goes back to how you design the learning experience. And this is what teachers need to be taught. I mean, there's two sides to the equation. And one last point that I'd like to make is design is the creative process as well. You can teach people the processes of designing, which can be articulated, but after that, design is the creative process. How do you think people put music together? How do you think people put orchestras together? You know, there's technique involved, but at the end of the day, it's also a very creative process. So I think that needs to be taught. We need to teach these things as part of the curriculum of teachers, pre-service or in-service. If we don't, then this kind of thinking that we're engaged in right now will not filter through.
Yeah, so again, we come back to this design. I think it's not only the teachers, but the people who are training teachers as well, the teacher educators, because they play a big role in training teachers. So first of all, they should change their mindsets, shifting away from this traditional thinking. I think majority of you have been talking about this creativity, which is the highest level of cognitive level in the Bloom's taxonomy. So creativity, how not just, you know, focus only on the lower levels, but how to move towards the higher levels of cognitive skills, including creativity. Is there any final thoughts? I think we had a very, I think we addressed the questions, I believe. Most of them, even though we didn't take one by one due to the time constraint, I think overall we managed to address the questions that have been posed. Is there any other final words or any things that you would like to share? Any of the panelists? All right, so I think we can summarize. Right, we can summarize. I think we during this almost 1.5 hours, in different time zones from 5 different countries, including mine, and Jaco is 6 different countries, and so many others from different areas globally. So I think we had a very productive discussion, even though the time, if we had more time, I'm sure the discussion could go on. But as Professor Vasudha also mentioned, rather than just discussing these things, it's important for us to actually practice what we discuss. I think we all have that space or the opportunities to practice what we are discussing at maybe at different levels. We talked about a lot of important things about pedagogy, technology, integrating all these things together with the content, subject matter content, achieving the learning outcomes. I agree with Professor Vasudha. Yes, the learning outcomes and the constructive alignment between all these things, designing learning activities, assessments, it's very important. So it's a complex thing. As Som said, unlike the other designers, us as teachers, the educators, designing is very complex, looking at all these things, but it is possible. We have done that, we are doing that. I think we should promote and inspire everybody to do that. So I think we can conclude the session now. I would like to take this opportunity to thank, first of all, Commonwealth of Learning for organizing this webinar. And allowing me as co-chair to take part of this webinar, and thank you, Jaco, especially for coordinating and organizing this, and all the 4 panelists. Thank you very much for accepting my invitation and joining today. Professor Vasudha Kamat, Professor Som Naidu, Professor Cheryl Brown, and Professor Hasan. All of you, despite time, no, all of you are very busy, but still, thank you very much for joining with us, and especially all the participants. Thank you so much for your participation. And I also think it's a great session. And thank you for your questions and your comments and your participation. Okay, over to you, Jaco, to conclude the session. Thank you so much. It has been a great session.
Thank you very much, Professor Shironica. Thank you, dear panelists, for the very valuable reflections and suggestions in terms of open, flexible, and distance learning and teacher education. I think you've left us all with a lot to think about, to rethink about design, to think about how we can actually form teachers who are responsive to the needs of the current student, the current world. To the attendees, thank you very much for attending. From my side, I also specifically want to thank our panel members, Professor Vasudha Kamat, Professor Cheryl Brown, Professor Som Naidu, and Professor Hasan Ucar. Thank you very much for sharing your expertise. And finally, a huge word of thanks to Professor Shironica Karunanayaka, Commonwealth of Learning Chair, for planning and moderating this session in your very exceptional manner and with your knowledge and sharing and bringing us all together to talk about all these very important matters. Thank you, dear colleagues. All the best to you.